Sure, thank you. I was searching for the unmute button. Sorry.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to those friends in the West Coast. Good afternoon to friends in the East Coast. Good evening to friends in India. Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, Jai Bhim. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. The Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans is honored to introduce Dr. Tol Tirumavalavan today. Dr. Tirumavalavan is a Tamil politician and activist, member of parliament in the 15th Lok Sabha, and the current president of the party Vidudalai Sirithaigal Katchi in the state of Tamil Nadu in India. He is a prominent leader who organized a political party to claim the rights of the Dalit people. He has authored several books, including Transgress, Let Us Uproot Hindutva, Are the Tamils Hindus, which are profoundly for the people of the land. He is a social activist and an active politician who organizes common people to claim their rights, oftentimes against Hindutva fascism, and convening conferences for various social purposes, including a recent national meet on the democratic rights of women students in order for them to pursue their higher studies. Unlike many politicians who get a doctor degree awarded once they gain political power, he is an intellectual, a scholar, and a writer, walking and working in the path that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar laid for us. He holds a PhD from Manonmaniyam Sundaranar University. His doctoral thesis on the mass religious conversion at Meenakshipuram, a victimological analysis, sheds new lights on the socio-political misery of caste discrimination that made the people of Meenakshipuram, about 200 families, convert to Islam in 1981. The study identifies solid findings on the influences of that major decision in their lives after a few decades of the conversion. Meenakshipuram is a village in Tirunelveli district, which after this mass religious conversion of people is now called as Rahmat Nagar. Though the chief minister at the time, M.G. Ramachandran, commented about the conversions as if it happened for money, and prominent national figures of Hindu organizations, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee, made a personal visit to convince the people to convert back. The people there were very strong about sticking to their decision against generations of caste oppression. In relevance to this, we are very happy to organize this speech, organizing against Sanatan, especially in this week, as 14th October marks the anniversary of the mass conversion into Buddhism led by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. We at CSIA, with our fellow organizations, the Indian American Muslim Council, Ambedkar King Study Circle, and Periyar Ambedkar Study Circle, cordially invite Dr. Tirumavalavan. Vanakkam, Dr. Tirumavalavan.
May I speak now?
Yes, please, sir. Please go ahead.
My beloved Seattle Indian Americans and brothers and sisters from India, I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share my views on this topic you have given to me. My brothers and sisters, please bear me that I am going to deliver my speech as written speech, because it's highly ideological one, controversial one. I can speak extempo in Tamil, no problem for me in Tamil, but in English, no one should misunderstand my points. So I prepared my speech as written speech. So kindly bear me to read my speech. organizing against Sanatan. First of all, we must know about the meaning of Sanatan. As per their documents, neither beginning nor ending, that is eternal one. So this is Sanatan. Anadi, no beginning. Ananta, no ending. This is the real, actual meaning of Sanatan from their document. But in practice, it's entirely different one. So now I wish to deliver my speech here. Greetings, my warm greetings to everyone. I wish to thank the Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans for giving me this opportunity to talk about the importance of organizing against Sanatan. It is quite common knowledge that social discrimination and some of the most extreme forms of violence in India takes place in the name of caste. What's caste? It is a social construct, a social configuration, a social structure. We use the word untouchability, but untouchability is only a practice of the caste system. Atrocities are brutal and violent, repressive measures of the caste system. Untouchability and atrocities are but consequences and reactions. To go to the heart of the problem, we have to seek the basis, the foundation, the fundamental guiding principle. What is the doctrine of the caste system? Caste in and of itself is not the doctrine. So, what is the foundational doctrine that has enabled caste to become a social structure in India? That doctrine is the doctrine of Sanatan, which is also called the Varnasrama doctrine or Varnasrama Dharma or the Manu Dharma doctrine. And what does this doctrine say? It says that people are not equal by birth. This is main concept of the Sanatan. This is actual meaning of the Sanatan. This is Atman of the Sanatan. This is a soul of the Sanatan. That means it says that people are not equal by birth. People are not equal by birth. It dictates that people belong to a fourfold Varna structure. Fourfold Varna structure. It dictates that each Varna is self-contained and separate. Each Varna is self-contained and separate. There are four Varnas. You are all well known about it. It is very familiar to all. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sutra. But none of these four Varnas are equal. Many of us are thinking that Dalits and non-Dalits are only not equal. Actually, in our social structure, no equal among four Varnas, no equality. The Brahman Varna is superior to all of the others. The Kshatriya Varna is inferior to the Brahman Varna. The Vaishya Varna is inferior to the Brahmin and the Kshatriya Varna. The Sudra Varna is inferior to all the three Varnas. Each of these Varnas have thousands of castes. Between each of these castes, there is untouchability. Commonly, everyone thinks that untouchability practicing only against Dalits. But ideologically, you can understand that untouchability practicing is prevailing among all Varnas and all castes. In what manner? One must not look at untouchability as something that is directed only against Dalits, against the Panjamas. Dalits or Panjamas, same. Untouchability is the difference on account of birth that exists between each caste. It is superiority and inferiority. This mindset is also called as untouchability. No one can enter into a house of any caste without their permission. They will not allow them. So, untouchability is the difference on account of birth that exists between each caste. It is superiority, inferiority. There are differences between Brahmin caste. You can see everywhere in Tamil Nadu or in any part of India. No equality among Brahmin communities. Iyer, Iyengar. There is difference or discrimination among themselves. They are not equal. Pandits, Banerjee, they are not equals. Nambudris and Sidbhavan from Maharashtra, they are not equals. The same Varnas, different caste, there is no equality among themselves. So, there are differences between Brahmin castes. These are differences between Kshatriya castes. There are differences between Kshatriya castes. All of these are mandated by Sanatan, which according to its philosophical basis is also eternal and unchanging. It's a perpetuate one, unchangeable. That is called Sanatan.
If that's true, then how did Valmiki become a Brahman? How did people like Ved Vyas become a Brahman? How did people like...
Today we are discussing the task of urbanizing against Sanatan. I wish to remind everybody that this is not a new task. This is not a new field of work on the Indian soil. There has been a long ongoing struggle between two opposing doctrines. One is Sanatan, the other is democracy. Democracy didn't always bear the same name. 2,500 years ago, it went by the name of Buddhism. Buddhism was an ideology that waged war on Sanatan. It was not a religion, it was a Sangam, a coming together of people. It was a doctrine. It was and it remains a methodology towards democracy. As far as India is concerned, the opposite. As far as India is concerned, the opposite of democracy is Sanatan. But in the international arena, people will not understand the word Sanatan. They will only understand the word fascism. One should not assume that this word Sanatan is being used only by those who place caste contradictions in the forefront. Sanatan can be understood as a doctrine that denies democracy. Sanatan can be understood as a doctrine that denies democracy, opposed to equality and fraternity. Any doctrine that goes against equality is a doctrine that is opposed to a democracy. We need to first obtain this ideological understanding. We need to first obtain this ideological understanding. The Indian version of fascism is Sanatan. The international version of Sanatan is fascism. Only if we have a clear ideological understanding, we can identify who are our ideological allies and who are our ideological opponents. It is such a clarity of understanding which will allow us to organize in the most effective manner to fight back against Sanatan. The battle between Sanatan and Buddhism is what has transformed today into the battle between Sanatan and Periyarism, Ambedkarism. The battle between Sanatan, Ambedkarism, and Periyarism. When we use the words Ambedkarism and Periyarism, it should be understood as social justice and democracy. Ambedkarism and Periyarism are nothing but democracy and social justice. It should be understood as social justice and democracy. There is a tendency among the people to talk Periyarism as mere atheism. There is a tendency among people to talk about Periyarism as mere atheism. What is atheism? But a strategy towards gaining social justice. It is a strategy, a campaign, a propaganda aimed towards awakening the people. But Periyarism cannot be reduced to atheism. Periyarism, Ambedkarism, democracy, these are words that mean social justice. These are words that symbolize the fight against Sanatan. Periyarism, Ambedkarism, and democracy. These are the words that mean social justice, fight against Sanatan. If one has to understand what democracy means, we have to look at the preamble of the Indian Constitution, which Dr. Ambedkar authored. The preamble begins with the words, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India." We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India. And then it explains what sort of India it is that we are trying to build. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. This is the new India that Dr. Ambedkar desired. And what do we gain through such a nation? Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity for everyone. These four words are not mere words. These are all four kinds of doctrines for democracy. Justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for everyone. This is the manifesto of Indian Constitution. This is the main concept of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India is not a mere code, mere act, mere law. Actually, it is the manifesto of new India we are going to build. So, Dr. Ambedkar has used these words at the very beginning. They are not mere words. They are a great doctrine. When the word justice is used, Dr. Ambedkar writes, justice, social justice, economical justice, and political justice. Justice to further lay out the fields in which it is essential to establish such justice. Dr. Ambedkar struggled to build a nation out of an anti-democratic, unequal, unfree, oppressive society where ruthless casteist savages are in power, where birth-based discrimination is the social order. He wanted to demolish this society that had been based on Sanatan for thousands of years. And he wanted to establish and create a new nation out of the social horror that was existing. The old nation had to be destroyed for the new to be born. The old nation had to be destroyed for the new to be born, to be built. Dr. Ambedkar wanted to build a new India, an India based on justice, equality, liberty, and fraternity, as it is mentioned in the preamble of our Constitution. The Tamil word for Constitution would directly translate into structuring, kattamaipu, structuring. To write a constitution was to structure a new India. We need to build a new modern India, a democratic India. This was revolutionary Dr. Ambedkar's dream. This is the dream of Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar. It did not remain just his dream. He worked for this every waking hours of his life. And that is why we have this constitution. That's why we have these provisions of social justice, which allow us access to reservation in education and employment, which allow us to attain some flexibility against caste discrimination through the state. To achieve this, one goal of constituting a modern India, a democratic India, to build a new India, Dr. Ambedkar saw social justice as fundamental. To attain this goal, there is a need of social justice. Dr. Ambedkar found this social justice as a way of, as the pavement of new India or modern India. To write that's why we have these provisions of social justice, which allow us access to reservation in education and employment, which allow us to attain some flexibility against caste discrimination through the state. To achieve this one goal of constituting a modern India, a democratic India, to build a new India, Dr. Ambedkar saw social justice as fundamental. Social justice was the path to empower Dalits, Adivasis, women, and all other marginalized people. Dr. Ambedkar did not believe in the shedding of blood, in the violence that would take place in the name of revolution. He believed in state socialism. He believed in state socialism. He believed that it was possible to capture political power through the democratic setup of the country. And it was through such power that equality would be established. Today, however, Sanatan forces are ruling the country. Now ruling the country. Who are they? Sanatan forces. Even though they may call them as BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, we need to reiterate that BJP is the political wing of the RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Only if we understand the RSS, their political program and their ideology, can we understand the BJP. Otherwise, we can't understand BJP. You should understand about RSS, then only you can understand the BJP. If you think BJP is a political party, you cannot understand them. You must know about the RSS, their political agenda, their ideology. That is very important to understand about BJP, because BJP is a political wing of RSS. That is very much truth. Even though they may call them the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, we need to reiterate that BJP is the political wing of the RSS. Only if we understand the RSS, their political program and their ideology, can we understand the BJP. Sanatan is the foundation, the bedrock of the RSS. Sanatan Dharma is the foundation and bedrock of the RSS. That is very important. So this is the foundation of BJP. The casteist and patriarchal ideological basis of Sanatan forces makes them anti-Dalits, anti-OBCs, anti-women, anti-Muslim, anti-Christian, and anti-poor. The increasing violent attacks on Dalits, on women, on Muslims, on Christians that we are witnessing around India is the direct result of the intolerant and anti-democratic Sanatan ideology. The Sanatan forces which rule the country today are against federalism. Federalism, very important concept of the Constitution. We are well aware of this concept. But Sanatan forces, that BJP or RSS or Sangh Parivar people, are against federalism. They are doing everything in their power to smash it. Sanatan forces are against diversity or pluralism. They want to erase the identity of people and impose one nation, one language, one culture, one religion. This is a very dangerous one. They want to demolish this diversity or pluralism. That is a very important factor for democracy. One of the important criteria for democracy, pluralism and diversity. But Sanatan forces are against that diversity or pluralism. That's what they are making propaganda for one nation, one culture, one language, one religion, like that. Sanatan forces have infiltrated and worked their ideological agenda into all our educational institutions. Their attacks on JNU, on Jamia, on student unions, proves their irrational hatred for independent thinking. The national education policy is only the most recent example of how they wish to deny education to a majority of the Indian people. Sanatan forces brutally use the state machinery in the most vicious manner possible against their ideological enemies. The Bhima Koregaon case, the arrest of the student activists who took part in anti-CAA protests across the country, proves the extent to which they will crush all dissent. The use of terrorist laws like UAPA, against activists and intellectuals, shows the extreme intolerance of Sanatana forces for the slightest criticism. Sanatana forces are against women. Social revolutionaries like Ambedkar and Periyar have shown the degrading manner in which women were depicted in Sanatana culture and literature. The same mindset persists even today. This Sanatana caste mindset, which imprisons women in order to perpetuate endogamy and denies them all freedom, has no respect whatsoever for women. They are never seen as equal by the Sanatanists. They are seen as people who can never be given independence. The manner in which the Yogi Adityanath government acted in the Hathras rape case lays clear the exact anti-women and anti-Dalit attitude of Sanatanists. The Sanatana forces, the Sangh Parivar, is against social justice. They claim to represent Hindus. However, they are against OBC reservations. You see the difference. They are claiming that they are fighting for only Hindus. They are claiming every moment, but they are totally against the OBC reservations. They are against OBC reservations. They are anti-Hindu when they deny reservation to OBC people, a majority of whom are Hindus. Sanatana forces do not care about poor people, about migrant workers, about the working class. It is under the BJP regime that all of India's public sector enterprises have been sold into private hands. This is very dangerous. You know very well. BJP government is doing all those things. All public sectors and central government departments, portfolios, everything transforming to private sectors. Privatization is going on against Hindu majority people. So they are not bothering about poor Hindus, poor migrant workers, Hindu migrant workers, totally against working class people who are belonging to Hindus. These are only a few points. They are against Dalits, they are against women, they are against Adivasis, they are against minorities, not only against for them, they are against to even Hindu people who belongs to OBC. So these are the only few points. I can go on forever listing out the dangers of the Sanatana project. People think their agenda is to hurt Muslims and Christians. No. That is just a political ploy for securing a vote bank and for capturing power. Their real aim is to throw away the constitution. This is very important point. My dear friends and brothers and sisters, the main aim of the Sangh Parivar, the main aim of BJP, they are aiming to throw away the constitution and to change the name of this country. They are not for India or Bharat. They want to change the name of the country as Hindustan. This is a nation only for Hindus. So that is, the real aim is to throw away the constitution, to change the name of this country, to send women back into the kitchen, to send Dalits and Sudras back into slavery, and to once again establish a society based on Varnasrama Dharma, the same society that exists 1,000, 2,000 years ago. I'm going to find my speech within a short while. Their intention has never been even the welfare of Hindus. Their intention is to retain the majority of Hindu as slaves for the ruling caste. Whatever they are labeled Dalit, Adivasi or OBC, if those people who are involved in physical labor become educated, the social order that has been maintained for ages will be disrupted and destroyed. They cannot allow that to happen. And this is at the heart of the RSS ideology. These points are very important, my dear brothers and sisters. What their real aim, we must know. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar wrote, very important quote. Please listen it. Dr. Ambedkar wrote, if Hindu Raj becomes a reality, if Hindu Raj becomes a reality, then it would be greatest menace to this country. Then it would be greatest menace to this country. Whatever may Hindus say, actually it does not make a difference that Hinduism is a danger to independence, equality, and brotherhood. Thus, it is an enemy of democracy. We should make all of our efforts to stop Hindu Raj from becoming a reality. What Dr. Ambedkar thinks, how he had a long vision, really surprising. Once again, I want to read, if Hindu Raj becomes a reality, then it would be greatest menace to this country. Whatever may Hindus say, actually it does not make a difference that Hinduism is a danger to independence, equality, and brotherhood. Thus, it is an enemy of democracy. We should make all our efforts to stop Hindu Raj from becoming a reality. Sanatan forces are getting closer and closer to the day when they can declare Hindu Raj, a clear Hindu Rashtra, or Hindustan, or Hindu Rashtra. To counter this communal onslaught, the revolutionary ideology of Dr. Ambedkar, Periyar, and Marx becomes extremely relevant. Dr. Ambedkar stood for caste annihilation. Dr. Ambedkar fought for uprooting Sanatan. Our party, VCK, we the Liberation Panthers, want to walk in his path. I must also make use of this opportunity to remind everyone that we identify with Dr. Ambedkar not out of narrow identity politics. Identity politics means the articulation that Ambedkar belongs to our caste. And therefore we identify with him and follow his path. On the other hand, liberation politics means that we see the Dr. Ambedkar for what he stood for, what he fought against, Sanatan Hindu Dharma, Hindu fascism. We see him as a leader who was anti-fascist. We see Dr. Ambedkar as anti-fascist, anti-caste, and therefore continue in his path. That's why that is the way forward. If we look at Ambedkar only as a Dalit leader and form a bond based on this reasoning, it will only be an emotional binding. It will not be ideological, and it will not work for the long haul struggle. The struggle against Sanatana, the struggle to annihilate caste is a long-term struggle in order to prevent people from consolidating together. The Sanatan forces are dividing people. They are fomenting religious divisions and hatred in order to prevent people from coming together to fight caste. They don't want the OBC to come together. They don't want Dalits and Adivasis to come together. This is why they are targeting Dalit organization all over India. As president of VCK, I wish to repeat again that continuing in the ideological lineage and tradition of the revolutionaries, Dr. Ambedkar, Periyar, and Marx, our party will be first ones leading the struggle against Sanatan forces, and we will also be the last ones standing in the battleground against Sanatan forces. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Thiruma. I apologize for the interruption we had in between. There was somebody who barged in. I think we can start taking some questions. Maybe if everybody can raise their hand or put their question in chat, we can start asking. Yes, Ara, you can unmute yourself and go.
Thank you, Prashant. Anna, vanakkam.
Vanakkam.
It has been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Being in Tamil Nadu, we are not able to speak, but when you are speaking to Seattle, now we are able to connect each other. It's great to listen to your wonderful speech. And you are the for the past whole life. I mean, we can't say that you worked for 40 years. That is even very little. And your whole life you have contributed towards the to the cause. And today we can very proudly say that you are living Ambedkar, you are living Periyar, and you are living Marx for Tamil Nadu.
Thank you. Thank you.
But the one question which is actually lingering in mind is that a person of your stature, you are not able to bring these victims together. Actually, the politics is between the victims and the beneficiary class. The victim class being the majority. That is the 85% of the country belongs to the persons who are actually victims. And the people who are belonging to 15%, that is the BKB of this country, the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaisyas of this country, the so-called Sanatan Shaktis, and they are the people who are the beneficiaries all the time. We have been seeing this throughout the history. But a person of your stature, what is the struggle you are undergoing in uniting this 85% of the victims together, so that we can have a real fight with this beneficiary class? Of course, we can't belittle them as a minority. As Baba Saheb puts it, they are menacing minority. They may be minority, but they are menacing minority. That's what Baba Saheb puts it. Now, in your own experience, what is the struggle what you are undergoing? Just I wanted to know, Anna. That is one question. And I also want to know, your party is Vidudalai Chirutaigal Katchi. Very long time this question is there in my mind. I have never got an opportunity to ask you directly, although we have met several times here in Tamil Nadu. What do you mean by that liberation, Vidudalai, in your name? These two questions I have in my mind, and I think looking forward to get an answer from you.
A very good question you have asked. That it is very simple that organizing the people is very hard in any manner, not only in the name of annihilation of caste, or in the name of religion, or in the name of language, or in the name of caste. No one can organize totally in any manner. you can see there are many caste organizations in the name of Mudaliyar, in the name of Vaniyar, in the name of Pillaimar, in the name of Thavas, like that, in the name of Brahmins. They cannot organize completely. Why? Because people are not follow blindly with any concept. They must politicize. Every organization have to work to politicize the people. That is very important. Even BJP also worked hard to organize Hindus to capture the power, but they couldn't easily. They took many more years to capture the power. Even they are working, they are fighting, they are doing all those things only meant for Hindus. They can't organize total Hindus in one fold. So this is the reality. So they can play, they can use that strategy to consolidate the vote bank in various manner, various state, various way. That is different. But they can organize completely as Hindus in one fold. That is the nature. But your question is, why you are not organizing victimized people in one umbrella? That is very important question. Even in any country, in any nation, we can't organize people completely under one umbrella. Revolutionary leaders like Marx, Lenin, Mao, they couldn't organize the people, working class, in the name of working class, proletarians. They achieved little bit. They can do some achievements in particular region or particular nation, like that. So first of all, we should know that it is highly impossible to organize all victimized people under one umbrella. We can organize people as a political force. It may be a minor group or major groups. We can organize the people, politicized gang, the politicized people. It may be a small group or big group. We can use that group to achieve our goal. So we cannot organize completely the victimized people. That is a common understanding in the public life. So a single man cannot organize. A single party cannot organize. So all democratic forces who are politicized can come together to achieve our goal. So you may be a different party, maybe a different organization, you belong to any different movement, linguistic movement or religious movement or any other identity you have. But in a particular agenda, in a particular target, we can do something in a particular time to achieve this goal. So we have to organize all politicized people, all democratic forces in different corner, we can achieve. So we don't try to organize 100% victimized people. That is not reality one. So second one, you asked about Liberation Panthers Party. What do you mean by liberation? Liberation is nothing but justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. We should get all these in our society for everyone. That is liberation. We must have justice. We should have liberty, fraternity, and equality. Otherwise, we can't be liberated. So liberated means no any imposition, any suppression, any dominance, any exploitation. Each and every individual be freed from domination, dominance and suppression, from atrocities, from exploitation, like that. So this is not only meant for Dalits, this is not only meant for particular caste, this is meant for all working class all over the nation, all over the world, across the world. So liberation is common terminology for who are working class in our society.
Thank you, Anna.
Tiruma.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Many of us also wanted to hear your thoughts on the Meenakshipuram, the event that happened in the 1980s. Can you give a little summary of your work on that?
Yeah, the early 80s, I think 1983, it happened. I was a student of Presidency College or University of Madras, I think so. University of Madras. I did my PG course. At the time, I saw this message or news in dailies and heard about that incident. One Mr. Yogendra Magwana, Union Minister, came to Tamil Nadu and visited the place and had given a statement against MGR government. After visiting the village, he came to Chennai and met Mr. M.G. Ramachandran, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. He appreciated Chief Minister. Really, I got shocked. What statement he has given already, then why he appreciated Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu? So at that time, this memory in my mind all over these years. After 2 decades, I had an opportunity to do my PhD. Actually, I selected my topic, state terrorism. State terrorism actually anti-working people. State terrorism is the real cause for for Dalits, real cause of dominance or suppression or any kind of atrocities happenings in the society. I feel like that because I had many field experiences. Whenever I go for people against caste fanatics, the police will come in front to save all caste fanatics and religious fanatics like that, all rowdy elements. So the real enmity from state only to downtrodden peoples. So I want to take the topic state terrorism. My guide, Dr. Chokkalingam, who was the professor in University of Madras when I did my PG course, MA Criminology. But this time he was Vice Chancellor of the University, Anonmaniyam Sundaranath University. So I discussed with him. He said, no, this topic is not correct. We can't allow this kind of topic. You can choose any other topic. That time I told him that Meenakshipuram conversion also because of state terrorism happened. I said to him, okay, you can take this topic, the mosque conversion in Meenakshipuram. That is very nice, he said. He encouraged me and he gave very good guidelines and suggestions. Because of my political activities, I couldn't complete my PhD within the duration. So I extended. Then I tried my level best to complete. At the time, I tried repeatedly. Our guide, Mr. Dr. Chokalingam, went abroad. So further extended. He came back and asked me whether you continue or not. He said, all other my students have completed their research except you. So only one student incompleted. Then I did my PhD, visited the village, each and every family I interviewed, got data and completed. What is the result? My motto is why they converted from Hinduism to Islam. Only money is the reason. I have to find it. Is there any truth? I have to find. I had another story already, that police atrocities in the name of caste. So high-level police officials from a particular community are caste, and local level officers, police officers are also belongs to a particular community. So caste class also there. So police atrocities main causal factor. I had that idea also. Then I did my research and did my all type of analysis and concluded that the police atrocities also a primary causal factor. They liberated from caste identity now. 2 decades, 2-3 generations. They completely forgot, they have forgotten their caste identity now. They are called as only Muslims. They are now called as Muslims. They are not called as scheduled caste or Dalit or untouchables or Harijans or any other name. So the mosque conversion made them liberated. So this is my finding. I got paid. That's all. Economically, they developed. Socially, they developed. And they are getting social respect also. Every caste fanatic or saluting them as calling as boy. Now they are calling as boy. Before that, they are calling as Dalit or any other name. So now they liberated from social atrocities or social discriminations. So completely they have liberated from these discriminations and atrocities. Now they are running business, hotel business, real estate business, and they are doing agricultural works. like that. They got many lands and many plots in main area like that. So they developed in economical area also. This is my finding.
Thank you, Dr. Thiruma. I see Vijay has raised his hand. Vijay, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Anna, this is Vijay here. Thanks for joining us. I have one question. In the recent Zee Tamil event, you beautifully explained the difference between caste, system, theory, structure, and the symptoms. I feel most of the discussions happen towards symptoms. How can we encourage or improve more discussions, dialogues, conversations towards the cause and then theory?
I can't understand your question.
விஜய் தமிழ்லே கேட்டுருங்க, அண்ணா இங்கிலீஷ்ல பதில் சொல்றோம்.
அண்ணா ஒண்ணும் இல்லை, நான் இப்ப நீங்க அந்த பேசும்போது அந்த சிஸ்டம் தியரின்னு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருந்தீங்க. இப்ப நடக்கிற நிறைய டிஸ்கஷன்ஸ் வந்து சிம்டம் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கு. சாதி ஒழிப்பை பத்தி தான் அதிகமா பேசிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஆனா அந்த தியரியை பத்தி இந்தியா முழுக்க நிறைய பேசுறது இல்லை. அதை பத்தி ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் பத்தியோ சிஸ்டம் பத்தியோ அதிகம் பேசுறது இல்லை. அந்த உரையாடலை நம்ம எப்படி அதிகப்படுத்துறது? ஏன்னா அதுதான் ரொம்ப முக்கியம் இல்லையா? அதை எப்படி நம்ம அதிகப்படுத்துறது? அதான் என்னோட கேள்வி.
கரெக்ட். அதாவது we are talking about only issues or events. We are not bothering about the system or concept. If you find any issue, there must be a system or structure. If you find any system or structure, you can see any concept or doctrine behind it. So event or issues, these are because of the system or structure. Event is only because of the system. Issues only because of the structure. Both event and system only because of the concept or doctrine. So these three things are in same line: event, system, and concept. Issues or structure or ideology or doctrine, like that. Each and every movement and each and every leaders or each and every persons are talking only about the issues or events. We are not talking about the system or structure. So that is the problem, because even leaders has no idea about these three things. We are all chasing or running behind the issues. We are all going behind the issues. We are all going behind the identities. So this is the real problem among us.
We do a reactive politics. That's what you say now.
Yeah, reactionary or reactive politics. If you find any structure, definitely you can find the theory behind it. So social structure is the real cause for all issues here. How this social structure made? Who made it? So there is a concept, or there is a theory, or there is a doctrine. So I can say in India we are facing every issues only because of caste system. Even in this literary field or any political field or cultural field or any area you can see, you can find finally that caste is very important factor, because our social structure based on Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is about caste system. Caste means not two things, Dalits, non-Dalits. Every individual has superior and inferior complex in the name of caste. You can think that you are superior than your inferior caste, but you are inferior than your superior caste. So every individual has the mixture of superior and inferior complexes. This is the main causal factor for not doing revolution here to change our social structure. So we must know about the concept. Then only you can find your enemy and your friend. Otherwise, you can find your enemies only on the basis of issue. You can see only the issue. You can talk only about the issues. You can discuss only about the issues. Then you can find enemies and friends. So you never bother about the concept and system. So you never erase any issues. You never find solution for any issues. So Dr. Ambedkar and Periyar, like that leaders, all other leaders, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, like that, they are well known about all these three things, even the system and concept, issues, structure, and theory. So these three things are more interrelated. We must know about this. Then only we can politicize the people. We can make people as a political force. Otherwise, we will not succeed.
Thanks, Anna. But the question is, இந்த உரையாடல் நிறைய பேர் புரிய வைக்கிறதுக்கான உரையாடல் நம்ம எப்படி அதிகப்படுத்துறது? அதுதான் கேள்வி.
We have to use our social media and other chances. So it is our duty. So we have to make chances to discuss and debate, develop our debate. That is very important.
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Dr. Thiruma. I see Vijayan and Sujata. Vijayan, if I remember correctly, you also asked the same question in the email. If you are the same person who asked the question, then please let us know and go ahead with your question. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Actually, I am the same person, but I want to change my question in generic manner. Anna, this is my question. That affected, victimized people, right? They are struggling to get their rights and all. Once they got everything, once they got literated and their improved life standard, then they started to support Sanatana. What is the psychology on it?
Only the insecure feeling they have. Every individual, suppose they got economical development or empowered in any manner, everyone wants to be secured. So whoever feel insecure, they want to be alive with right-wing people or ruling class people or powerful forces. Want to ally with the powerful people. So this is human nature. So there is very minor groups. They are afraid about their status and state. They want to retain, they want to sustain their status. So they want to be peaceful manner with right-wing people. They are supporting Sanatana forces. They don't want to fight against right-wing politics because this is also very danger to them. They feel like that. So we should make awareness such kind of people not to get afraid about political threats or any other threats. We have to educate them. It will be happen, but we have to educate again and again. We have to educate to retain the left forces and other democratic forces.
Yes, sir, that's what we are doing all the time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sujata, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Thiruma, I wanted to ask you, in your experience organizing and building a political movement, would you be able to shed some light on your own experiences on what Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar spoke about, the necessity for a separate electorate for the oppressed castes?
Yes, he fought for separate electorate with the dual voting power. He spoke in Roundtable Conference in London, 1930s, 31, 32, like that. He got that separate electorate order or award from British rule. After that, our Gandhiji fought against that government order, that you don't split our Hindu people through this strategy. He fought like that. That time he was in jail, Yerrawada jail in Pune. He started his fasting against this social award, communal award, to get back, to withdraw this order. So everyone from all over the country targeted Dr. Ambedkar. Only because of him, Gandhiji is going to die. So after 3-4 days, they had discussions. Dr. Ambedkar met Mr. Gandhiji in Yerrawada jail. They discussed many things. Heated arguments happened in between Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhiji. Finally, Dr. Ambedkar agreed to sign Pune Pact. That is, he lost separate electorate with the dual voting power. He accepted and agreed for this reserved constituency system only for 5 years. Gandhiji told, only for 5 years. What he said, the Harijans are not separate. They are also Hindus. So we need not to isolate them in the name of political award or communal award. So we will be together. He said like that. He argued like that. But Ambedkar said we are not Hindus at any cost. We won't be continue with you all. We need political empowerment. So we need separate electorate with the dual voting power. That means 1 vote for Dalit representations, 1 vote for general representation, general candidate and reserve candidate, like that. So British government agreed to give this award. But Gandhiji didn't accept. So fought between Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhiji. Finally, Ambedkar signed with Madan Mohan Malaviya. That is called as Pune Pact. Really, Ambedkar worried about it. He lost his lives, political lives. So we can say that this is a political murder, political onslaught like this. Anyhow, we lost it. Separate electorate and dual voting power. Now this is reserved constituencies, which is dominated by caste Hindus. They are not ready to vote the real representatives of Dalits or real representative of Adivasis. They have voted, they are voting only the candidates who are obeying them, like that. So no real representation from Dalits for Dalit people.
Next is
Thank you,
Arun.
Dr.
Vanakkam Tholar. My question is, now Indians are all spread all over the world. So how the non-resident Indians and similar thinking forces can organize? Some are organizing as study groups and some are participating in the social activities on the ground, etc. But how can they efficiently contribute to this struggle in the motherland?
So non-resident of India have to work to consolidate our people who are working for justice, working for democracy. We can't organize all people who are living in abroad. We can organize only democratic forces. We have to find out who are they. We have to keep touch with the people through social media. And we have to discuss about Sanatana Dharma, Varnasrama Dharma, and social structure in India, why we need social justice. We should not bear our identities, this religion, this caste, this language, like that. We are all democratic forces. Fight for democracy, fight for social justice. That is very important. So we must have ideological approach. We should not bear any identity to organize the people. We should not against any particular caste or community. We don't show that we are against this caste or this community or this religion, like that. So that we are mentioning Sanatana Dharma. Somebody can say that this is Brahminism, this is Hinduism, like that. But actually, it means Sanatana Dharma. It is their identity, ideological identity. So we are not against any particular caste or community or any particular religion or any particular language. So that is very important. So non-residential Indians have to work for democracy and social justice and organize the people who are working for justice through social media and in any manner. Day to day we are doing, we have to propaganda, we have to work in this platform. That is very important. Tirelessly we have to work. That is what.
Thank you.
Deepak Kumar.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And there are two important things from your life experience. I'm seeing as a common public individual. One is Dalit.
Deepak,
I can't hear your voice.
Okay.
Very feeble.
Is it audible?
Audible, but very feeble.
Okay. Then I think. Okay, sir. Let me type in the chat. Someone will.
No. Now I can hear. Now I can hear.
Okay. So, two important things from your own life we are seeing as a common public.
Pardon?
Two important things from your life experience we are seeing as a common public. One is Dalit activism. Second is that electoral politics. Now, how do you balance these two, sir? It's a very difficult thing.
Second thing. First is Dalit activism. Second one?
Politics.
Electoral politics. Huh?
Electoral.
Okay, electoral politics. Okay.
One more question, sir.
What is your question? Dalit activism and electoral politics?
Balance that.
How balance?
How do you balance? Yeah, it's very difficult, right?
It's very difficult. Okay.
Very difficult. And my question is also, sir, in the electoral politics.
Can't hear now.
I'll just type, sir. First question is that. I'll just type second. Thanks.
Please. Just louder.
I think the first question is Anna. He's asking, how do you manage between Dalit?
That is okay. Second question.
Second question. Now I think he's typing in chat. Let us see.
Okay.
I'll just try once again. Second question is, are you gaining, how do you gain through the electoral politics for the Dalit upliftment?
I don't bother about the gain or loss in the electoral politics. I am using this platform only to propaganda my ideology, that's all. I am working for the cause, not for the power or any post. So I don't bother about failure or anything else, any loss. I don't bother about it. Dalit activism is not against to any political party. That is very critical one and controversial one. Everyone is not ready to discuss about Dalit issues. If talk about Dalit issues, they will think that they will lose vote bank like that. But after 2 or 3 decades, for the past 20, 30 years, every political parties are coming forward to talk about the issues nowadays. You can see now, even in UP gang rape case, Manisha Valmiki. In Tamil Nadu, many political parties, mainstream political forces have come to the street to condemn this kind of atrocities against Dalits. But you can see in 1997, a massacre happened in Madurai district, Melavalagu massacre. You know very well about this massacre. 7 people heckled brutally in daylight in the presence of the police, in presence of the revenue officials. They know very well it will happen. They know very well. But no one political party even condemned brutal massacre against Dalits. After these 2 decades, you can see the difference. All political parties, mainstream political parties, have come forward to condemn these atrocities against Dalits. So day by day, it is changing. So no one can escape from these issues. So Dalit activism is not a barrier to me to gain in electoral politics. Dalits are victimized people years together, thousands of years together. Dalits are not belongs to my caste, I feel. I am not belongs to Dalit. I feel like that. I am working for victimized people, that's all. Dalits are also victimized, like women, like minorities, or any other bother about it. I am blanking Dalit, people are Dalits, so Dalit activism is against Dalit activism against to me. I don't bother about it. Those people are called as Dalits. So I am working for victimized, that's all, victims in the name of Dalits or any other name, any other identity. I am for Dalits because they are victims, that's all. So Dalit activism is not against me. I don't bother about the gain or loss in electoral politics.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Thiruma. Dr. Thiruma, before we end today, we want everybody to take a very simple action. So please hang around till the last question, and then we will ask everybody to take one small action. I think Arul has another question from the chat she can ask.
Okay.
Vanakkam Tholar. This is a question from Kanak Natraj of AKSC. There are different words used often to indicate Sanatan. Can you explain the similarity or differences in the words such as Hindu, Hinduism, Hindutva, Brahminism, and Sanatan?
Sanatana Dharma is the basic concept or basic doctrine of Hindu culture. Later on, it develops. It is actually a Persian terminology, Hindu. Every historical writers, historians says that Sindhus called us Hindus. The people who have lived the bank of river Sindhu, the Persians or Mughals couldn't pronunciate properly as Sindhus. So the S, they can't pronunciate properly. So they called Hindus like that. So it later on development. Actually, Hindus, Hindu religion or Hindutva or Hinduism, these terms are popularly known after British rule only. After British rule only. So there is no any religion in the name of Hindu before 200 years, before British rule. Saiva, Vaishnava, Saktam, Sauram, Kaumaram. These are different religions. Many religious groups, minor groups. Actually, 450 minor groups, religious groups compiled, called as Hindus. There is no any prophet. There is no any holy book. That's what they are telling, that no beginning, no ending. Anati, no beginning. Ananta, no ending. So they can explain that Sanatana Dharma is eternal one, no beginning, neither beginning nor ending. That's different. Varnasrama Dharma is the content of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana, already I explained. Dharma means duties of the people who are following these rules. What kind of duties? There are 5 duties they have, like Muslims. Deva Yagnam, Rishi Yagnam, Manushya Yagnam, Bitru Yagnam, and Buddha Yagnam. I can't pronounce it rightly. So Deva means God. A duty to the God. And Rishi Yagna, you have to follow the words by saints. That is a duty of a person who follows Hinduism. Manushya Yagna, that means you have to service. You have to do the service to the people who are downtrodden or very pauper family. That is Manushya Yagna. And 4th one, Bitru Yagna, the passed away, the people who are passed away, expired people. You have to do some Sangyam, Sadangi, like this, rituals. You have to do the rituals to the people who already expired. That is Bitru Yagma. And Buddha Yagma means the living that except human beings. You have to do services, animals like that, any other livings. So these are the duties. The Dharma means duties of the people. So Sanatana Dharma means these are the eternal duties you have to do like this. These are the explanation of the Sanatana Dharma. But Varnasrama Dharma means 4-fold of the social structure: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudras. Panchamas or Dalits are outcast. They are not coming under this fourfold. They are against to the 4-fold Varnasrama Dharma, anti-Varnasrama Dharma, outcast, avarnas. They are not coming under 1, 2, 4, 3, 4, 5. They are not fifth caste. They are not fifth varna. They are anti-varna. The 4 varnas, another in front of varnas, anti-varnas, avarnas. So they are not below the 4th. They are not below the 4th varna, not 5th varna. So this is the varnasrama dharma. The codifications made by a saint, namely Manu, according to the varnasrama dharma, to sustain the varnasrama dharma, he made a code, he made a law and rules and regulations and manifesto. That is called the Manudharma. What to do? These kind of people have to do. These kind of people what to do like this. What are the punishments if they violate any rule? This kind of codification called as Manudharma. These are all called as Hinduism or Brahminism because Brahmanas are superior than all kinds of varnas and all kinds of caste. So this dharma or doctrine is only for superior caste who is called as Brahmins, so that we called as Brahminism. Sanatana Dharma is nothing but Brahminism. Sanatana Dharma, Varnasrama Dharma is nothing but Brahminism. Manu Dharma is nothing but Brahminism. Because these are all only for the welfare of the Brahmin people, because they are superior than all Varnas and caste. So Brahminism is nothing but Sanatana Dharma or Manu Dharma. But we don't mention in the name of caste. We can identify, we can say to identify the real meaning, who are the beneficiary, Sanatana for what, Sanatana for whom, we can identify through this term Brahminism like that. So Hinduism is later development. So these are called as Hinduism, that's all. The dharma and rituals and codes, what are the punishments like that. So these are called as Hinduism. We can say that Sanatana Dharma is actual right term.
Thank you, Dr. Tiruma. And because people are falling off the call, I mean, we were at 50 and now 38. So I would like the action thing to happen now. And then Hassan Bhai will ask your question after that. Sujata, can you go ahead and ask the attendees to take the small action?
Sure. Thank you, Prashant. Dr. Tiruma, I wanted to interrupt this with a very short announcement, which I think you will also find interesting. So what we are doing, this is a request from AIC Ambedkar International Center. So we are running an email campaign to send emails to Senator Kamala Harris. And the goal is 2 ways. One is to highlight the Hathras issue as one of the recent examples, like you said, Dr. Tiruma, of state-sponsored terrorism, where the atrocities are happening well under the nose of the state officials and that there is impunity. So the email is asking Kamala Harris to raise her voice against supremacy. And also because Kamala Harris did some virtue signaling of her Indian/upper caste roots in her in her election campaign earlier. So we wanted to use this as an opportunity to highlight to her that she should raise her voice as a progressive candidate against rising fascist forces in India. So what we want everybody to do here, it takes 15 seconds of your time. Take your mobile phone and open a browser and just type tinyurl.com. Prashant, you can even remove the HTTPS. Yeah. Just type tinyurl.com/mail Kamala Harris and hit enter. It will ask you to open up your email. And when you open up your email, everything will be pre-filled out, including her email address. A couple of news outlets are CC'd. New York Times, USA Today are CC'd. And it asks, the body of the email will also be filled out. It asks Kamala Harris to use her position as a progressive candidate to raise an objection and to urge the Indian government to bring justice as well as address the issue of caste-based atrocities. And just hit enter and the email will go to Kamala Harris. So if we can get 100 such emails sent out this weekend, by Monday, we are hoping that somebody in her office takes notice and someone in the media takes notice. So please do that right away. All you have to do is take your mobile phone, open the browser and type this URL that you can see on the screen. Don't do it on the laptop. It is easier to do it on a mobile phone. So just launch this, type tinyurl.com/mail Kamala Harris. Dr. Tiruma, if you would like, you can do it too. Okay. And hit the send button. That's it.
Is it possible these organizations in United States to all the organizations, including your ANA is there, Ambedkar International Mission is there, your AICC is there. There are so many organizations, all there. You people can be together and, probably invite this Kamala Harris for any discussion somewhere, and then make an impression. See, as a Fulbright scholar, I was there in the White House. I raised this question in front of, Hillary Clinton when I was there in US 10 years back. I wrote a full page memorandum and I gave it to her so that it reaches Barack Obama. But the people around Barack Obama at that time, they were all Gujarati Brahmins. They will not allow anything going near to the president or whatsoever. So this is my experience. I'm sorry, I'm just putting an extra work or burden onto the organizers.
We can certainly relay this message. I think they are all trying to do the same. But yeah, this email campaign will definitely raise some awareness. At least we are CCing the media outlets also on this one.
We will put that in the Facebook, and then we will, as much as possible, publish here also and make many people to do this. And it's a very good thing to do.
Yeah, it takes less than 15 seconds and we want people from all over the world to send it to her because, she is running on the presidential campaign in the US and as a global leader, people from around the world are asking her to raise her voice. So please do that. Mahesh, I will message
in the chat
to fix your problem if you have it. Sorry.
This is invalid mail. The guy is typing the invalid email address.
Please check whether you put double R. Sometimes, Kamala Harris is double R.
So already it's double R. Already.
Dr. Tiruma, I will help you separately after this call. If anybody has any issues sending it, we did test it out last night. If you have any issues, please get in touch with us separately after this call and I can help you through it.
No, it is so easy. It is so easily going for me.
Yeah. For most people, it should go. There are one or two issues which we can fix after the fact. But thank you so much for your time, Dr. Tiruma. Please go ahead.
Hassan bhai, you can ask your question quickly and then we can conclude.
Sure. Vanakkam, Anna. So I'm not a Tamil speaker, but I'm trying to salute you. for all the great work you have been doing, and we are very proud and honored to attend your session. So one of the things, Anna, I am recently seeing is since last few years, there is a lot of combined effort from Dalits and Muslims, all over the world. So, and this is working. I mean, as far as I know, being a leader, what's your opinion about it, and are you doing something about in this direction? I will appreciate your response.
Regarding Dalit and Muslims consolidation, huh? Regarding
yes, Dalit and Muslims consolidation, working together for the same cause.
You know that our Sangh Parivar and BJP doing the splitting politics. That is not only among religious, they are doing all kind of works against consolidation among Dalits or Muslims, like that. So it is really very dangerous thing. Already they are targeting Dalits. Why? Because Dalits and Adivasis are very close to Muslims and Christians. Muslim and Christian organizations are doing some social work or any help for them educationally and economically, like that. So the conversion is going spontaneously. That's what Sangh Parivar is targeting Dalits and Adivasis to stop the conversion. So they are doing splitting strategy among Dalits and Dalit, in between Dalit and Muslims. So we should be aware about the strategy of Sangh Parivar people. And Muslim leaders and Dalits, other democratic forces have to come forward to unite these sections. But unfortunately, our leaders are not aware of it. Particularly all Dalit leaders are supporting Sangh Parivar. All over India, you can see many leaders from Dalit community are supporting RSS and BJP. So this is unfortunate one. What to do, I don't know. The left forces are afraid that not ready to go closer with Muslims and Christians, because they are also thinks that Muslims also fundamentalists, Christians are also fundamentalists. Like that, they are treating Hindu fundamentalists and Muslims, Christians equally. They are treating. So they are not taking any forward steps to unite the minority people with other democratic forces. This is a reality one. So we have to work in this field to unite all our democratic forces, particularly Dalits and Muslim consolidation. I am for the consolidation. I am working from my earlier days till now to consolidate all marginalized sections, particularly Dalits and Muslims and Christians. But I couldn't reach. This is the reality one. I don't know what to do in future, but I am working tirelessly to unite all marginalized sections all over the country. My level best.
Thank you, Dr. Thiruma. I was just trying to unmute myself. So I think we are almost running into 2 hours. There's a lot of time that we have taken from you, Dr. Thiruma, and thank you so much for patiently answering all our questions and for the exercise.
12:20 here. I have to travel further from here to Pondicherry, from Pondicherry to Trichy. It will 3 hours drive from here.
Yeah, so we will let you go and take rest now. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. If anybody wants to have any further discussion, you can contact Seattle Indians. You can send a mail to seattleidians@gmail.com, and then we will forward your questions to Dr. Thiruma. So with that, we will conclude this program.
I just wanted to add one more.
Sure.
Sorry, Dr. Thiruma, just 15 more seconds. Thank you so much for your enlightening talk. It was truly an honor to have you here in this discussion. I would also like to thank all our supporting organizations, CSIA, IAMC, Indian American Muslim Council, Ambedkar King Study Circle, Periyar Ambedkar, and especially to Brother Tamarai Valavan, who helped us connect and coordinate the logistics, and to our dear sister Arul for organizing and bringing you, Dr. Thiruma, to us this evening. Thank you very much, and hope you have a safe journey to Pondicherry.
Once again, I have to express my sincere thanks to you all for giving this golden opportunity to share my views on Sanatan. I don't know how I did, but anyhow, I did my level best, I feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Prashant, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just trying to close the meeting. SeattleIndians@gmail.com.
Thanks and have a nice day. Bye. Nice weekend.
Yeah. Bye-bye.